an issue.
People claim that the struggle is worse for women.
I think that's just a part of Twitter.
People who are saying normally,
They get the likes, the retweets and stuff like that.
We just want what's good for us. So moving forward.
Oh, is what you say in like 2010?
What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Soapbox. It's your host here at classic_Vinn. That's VINN. To the left of me, I have Alvin and Joseph, and to the right of me, I have Kristen, Tia, and Claudia. So I just want to thank you guys for coming on. Today, we're going to be talking about cancel culture. So in recent years, I guess the masses have been canceling people based off things that they have done in the past, things that they said in the current day. So, we're going to talk about cancel culture and whether or not you guys agree or disagree. So, here we go. Cancel culture. It's on the floor.
Ladies.
All right, I'll start. I think cancel culture is kind of toxic. The canceling of specific people can be healthy, though. It depends on the situation. The reason why it's toxic is because of how social media works today. The way that information is spread, it's spread very, very quickly, and that means that misinformation is also spread very quickly. And so people make decisions before they know the full story of the situation. And by the time the full story comes around, nobody cares or everybody's moved on. That's why it's kind of dangerous. The reason why it's healthy is, in my perspective, where it can be healthy, is because it calls out people that need to be called out and need to be held accountable for the things that they've done that they haven't held themselves accountable for, or that nobody knows about and should know about. And that's like people that are racist, actively, not even just actively, racist people,
right.
That don't apologize for their racism and don't try to change, pedophiles, rapists, and people that are regularly just doing harm to other people without any repercussion.
I think that the issue with cancel culture is the shift from a innocent until proven guilty standpoint to more of a guilty until proven innocent standpoint. I do believe that there are cases where cancel culture should be utilized to its fullest extent. Cases like that, I would agree with you, things like rape, sexual assault, stuff like that. But at the same time, it's really difficult to start to get into the meticulous details about that because, now we're getting into, who said and she said, and, well, she's lying on me and he's lying about whatever's going on. And then it kind of starts to spiral off into things that we're not even talking about today. But even still, with that being said, I think it's very important for the masses, the people, social media in general, to hold people like this accountable because I think that it raises awareness to a lot of issues that are more often than not swept under the rug, things like racism, like you said, things like sexual assault that we're probably going to continue to talk about because it's one of the things that's so prominent these days. Things like that get swept under the rug, and with cancel culture, it's a very easy way to spread the same amount of information very quickly because everybody's so focused on the person who's being canceled.
To be honest, I feel that cancel culture, first of all, I'm here for cancel culture. I think it gets a bad rap because, especially as social media, I think it's very common to see a loud minority. And so with any group or any kind of affiliation, I feel like you're always going to have those loud, extreme people. But as in terms of like cancel culture as a whole, in certain instances, I can agree with you to where you said that it's more so that you are guilty until proven innocent. But I mean, with a lot of these cases, we have people's Twitter accounts. Like we are able to see what they said, or you even see like live stream or something they even say in person. So with a lot of these cases, they're saying the things out of their own mouths. Yeah. And so for that, like, granted, sometimes maybe we do take it too far, but for the most part, I do feel that while sometimes it has proven to be ineffective, I think that cancel culture is necessary because that's all that we can do. All that we can do is stop supporting these people who have demonstrated that they have beliefs or that they have done things that have been anti-productive or not wholesome. So I'm here for cancel culture.
I think it like also gives people a false sense of empowerment because it's like you have to agree to it as a collective. Not everyone's going to cancel a person. Like it's for the individual to judge like, oh, I deem this as unacceptable, therefore I'm not going to support. And someone else is like, you know, I really don't care, so I'm gonna keep like supporting you. Like for instance, I mean, as I was saying earlier, like I'm not probably ever gonna cancel Frank Ocean or Kendrick Lamar. Like they'd have to do something very.
Kendrick's never gonna do anything.
Kendrick.
Sorry.
You can't really say that a person is never gonna do something because we're all.
I mean, no, he
human.
could.
And you don't
So-
know. You
But his
really
music,
don't know
yeah.
what some people are capable of. Although, were you finished? Although, I think a lot of times when we think about cancel culture, we think it's ineffective as well because the people still make money, they still go on tour, they still get their bag. But at the end of the day, even if you have like a polarizing viewpoint where now some people love them, some people hate them, they're not getting the same amount of revenue. So if anything, at least it serves as a lesson to the people being quote unquote canceled. Even if they never got fully canceled, their dividends are definitely getting smaller. So at least that can serve as a point of like, it gives them a lesson at least. So where, you know, I can't be saying stuff like that because my bag got smaller last time. Like I missed out on some opportunities.
That's not necessarily true because some people make money off of the hate. Like
Oh, yeah, because
That's true.
Kardashians, like James Charles. I don't know how he came back from that, but like
Well, I can't say.
So James Charles, just a basic kind of rundown, he was exposed for going after and just kind of like sexually harassing straight men.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know they're straight, leave them alone. And also because of like the tour that he went on, as a makeup artist, why are you going on tour? And also, why are you charging so much from these people that you know don't have money? So there is that. But I kind of like didn't really know too much about it myself. Also, he's 19-year-old guys can typically be kind of creepy in general. So I don't know. It was just somebody that I wasn't necessarily interested in and wasn't like super active about canceling. But that's the reason why he was canceled.
no, but like you make money off the hate. Like every time you say something, people are like, "Ugh, why are they saying something?" But you're talking about them,
Yeah.
you
that's-
know, and like the ads and
Jake Paul is perfect.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
We
Jay-
hate that guy.
You mean Logan Paul?
Okay, so
Both of
so
them,
okay, so
technically.
what the problem between like Jake Paul and Logan Paul? Jake Paul kind of capitalizes and makes money off of children. That's not okay because they're susceptible to being fans and like glorifying people. That's not cool. Logan Paul, like everybody likes to hate Jake Paul, but a lot of people are more okay with forgiving Logan Paul. Like they just don't care or they forget about all of the messed up things that he's done. He's done a lot more messed up things than Jake has, but both of them have done some pretty.
I think it was after that Tokyo situation though that Logan was
Yeah.
where everybody was like, "That's over." But even Logan has kind of got past that. And-
He's very much gotten past that.
But again though, and I even just realized this just yesterday. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but Logan Paul actually has done 2 boxing matches with another really popular YouTuber.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You guys heard
what was
about
his
that?
name?
KSI.
Black guy, yeah.
KSI. So they had their second fight this past weekend. And that actually is a result of what you're talking about, how the Tokyo situation, I don't know if you guys know about it, but essentially Logan Paul entered this forest in Japan. And I can't remember specifically what it translated to, but it was essentially a suicide forest.
Yeah, it's called the Suicide Forest. Like a lot of people, it's on Mount Fuji. There's a lot of people that have gone there to commit suicide. And one of like a Japanese custom of people that commit suicide, you'll see like 2 shoes just lying somewhere. They'll take off their shoes before they go off because that's what they
Yep.
do. But he went into the suicide forest and he found a dead body from
Yep.
somebody that had hung themselves. Sorry for anybody that's triggered by this information. And filmed it. and posted it and was laughing. It was like, oh, Suicide Forest, we actually get to see blah, 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 blah. And it was not okay. It wasn't respectful. There was no sadness. It was just like content. Yes, this is okay.
Yep.
And it was not okay at all.
And at the beginning of the video, he was talking about how no one on YouTube has ever done this, and he was saying like, beware what you're gonna see. It's like he knew how much money he was gonna get from this. Like he knew that the viewers that he was gonna like be bringing in. I think in those situations you can cancel people, but cancel culture as a whole, it's insanely toxic. I don't know if you guys watched Black Mirror. Where there was this one episode with the bees.
Yes.
All right, so for you guys that don't know, there was this one episode, spoiler alert, where people were able to go on
Yikes.
Twitter and, like, if they didn't like someone, like, if they didn't like a
I do
celebrity.
remember that.
Yeah, if they didn't like a celebrity, like, if a celebrity said something they didn't like,
The woman at
they
the
could text somebody, or no, they could just
Tweet, I think,
tweet
right?
something, right? And say that they want this person to die by noon, and the person would die, right?
Yeah, because there
And
would be like these nanobots that would
Exactly.
go after that person. Like if you got enough votes
Wait,
up there,
what about the one? Is it the same one where she's at the wedding and like you can like someone?
No,
or
Different
no, this is
episode.
different. This is
Yeah, different episode.
So basically, everybody, there was even, like, as it went on, day by day, you could vote for who you wanted to die that day because they said something reckless, right? And by the end of the episode, everyone who sent a tweet for a celebrity to die, they all died. Which
As a
is
result of it,
crazy,
right.
Right?
Like-
And in that situation, I think it's the same idea because even if, all right, if we're excluding the extreme cases, if we're thinking about guys like, I don't remember his name, he does a lot of animal stuff on Twitter.
Brother Nature.
Brother
Yes.
Nature.
Kevin.
When he was like 12 or 11, he tweeted some reckless stuff, and he was on the brink of getting canceled.
Oh, yeah, I
and people,
remember
yeah,
that.
people were they were going
Like,
crazy.
dude,
I
he
feel like
was
And I think in those
slow.
situations,
Hold on.
And I was in that situation. I think in a lot of other situations, we tend not to give people the benefit of the doubt. We go with the guilty until proven innocent. Because in other cases, you don't know these people. You don't know if they've changed. All you see is evidence of something did years ago. You don't know if they got rehabilitation for it. So you send the killer to their house without knowing what's happening. You send the bee for them to go die, like in Black Mirror. You get me?
I feel
Yeah.
like for him it's kind of different. Like, and I personally like to take it like an individual case, and like obviously you have to have a like trial within yourself for that person. And I feel like if you show like remorse and that you've changed, and it's somebody like him, he kind of is a completely different person.
But
So like
what'd you say
his
about,
canceling wasn't very successful.
what would you say about Gina Rodriguez?
Oh, I hate that girl. I can't. like I.
She apologized.
Oh no, but she
expressed
continues
remorse.
her behavior.
The way
like
that
the-
she apologized wasn't cool either.
Like her
It
apology, it was
wasn't
a
about
non-apology,
her.
and she continues her behavior, and she didn't really listen to what the Black community had to say to her.
I
So
just
I feel
think-
like for her, I have no remorse.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you, and
just-
you don't speak for my people.
I
like-
just think that you're being a little like one-sided because you're saying that once they show remorse, once they show
She
that they're
didn't.
sorry.
That's the thing.
But
Is
that's
I
what I'm
didn't
saying.
see
It's
the remorse.
not black and white.
And when you continue
Yeah.
the behavior, the same behavior that she like is getting canceled for,
Yeah.
she's continuing it. There's several other videos and like even current of her saying stuff that discredits like the Black struggle. And I'm like, I'm all for like Latina power. Like, yes, we need to uplift all POC. But especially when someone's talking about the most marginalized community is the Black community. That is not an argument. And when somebody points that out, you don't need to kind of discredit the struggle. And I feel like she has not gotten that main point of like, we're all struggling, yes, but like, do not discredit other people's struggle in a sense. And I feel like she has not gotten that, and she is still facing consequences.
Yeah.
If I may interject, I would say, and even highlighting the differences in the two stories that you guys brought out, if you look at forgiveness even in general, whenever anybody does something, and I'm talking about from a personal level, like so somebody you know does something to you, forgiveness is never instantaneous. It takes time to forgive. And so I think one of the misnomers about cancel culture is that it has to be permanent.
Yeah.
And so I think that because you can cancel someone, but that doesn't mean that then for the rest of their life they are then banned from doing anything because of something they did at that point. In the case of, say, even Brother Nature, there are times, and even other people like, say, Kevin Hart have also come up in this similar conversation.
Yeah.
They have done things at a certain point in time, which was documented via Twitter, so we know where they were at that point. But we also have seen how they have matured since then, and we know where they are now.
Yeah.
So at this point, are we able to forgive them because of the way how we've seen the trajectory of their life and maturity going in? I would say yes. For somebody like, say, Gina Rodriguez, what she did just happened. We don't know how apologetic she truly is, because I mean, her PR person told her to say sorry. We don't know if she's actually sorry. The only way of actually knowing is observing the way how she navigates for the next few years.
Yeah.
After so long, if she has proven that, you know, she's been sorry and she has been more positive since then, at that point, maybe she's uncanceled. And I feel that that's not a word that's used enough.
I think that's a good thought. I think that's a good thought. But once people are canceled, most times they're canceled, like they're blackballed. No. Wait. Let me tell you why. Because in the entertainment industry, at a certain point, if you do something, you can't get jobs for a good minute.
We're like,
It's years. And I'm
depends
not
on
saying
what
that,
area.
Not saying that he shouldn't have gotten canceled, but Kevin Spacey can never come back in the entertainment industry. He's blackballed.
At least not in the same
Harvey
way.
Weinstein, he can never come back.
I mean,
He's blackballed.
I think those are low-key different, but I also want to point out that blackballing is kind of, I would like to, race card, like, it is kind of specific to some races in a sense. Like, there are white people who get blackballed, blacklisted, whatever, but I feel like canceling is more successful with, like, black entertainers just because the tolerance that the public has for, like, black entertainers is. And so, like, you find, like, people like Gina Rodriguez and, like, Lena Dunham or whatever coming back because, I don't know if it's, like, white
Can you give
tears.
an example?
Like Gina, she's
No,
still.
give an example of like a black person that's been blackballed that doesn't come back the same way.
I mean, and
Kaepernick.
it's obviously specific.
Kaepernick is very good. Yeah.
It's specific to like the severity of what they've done. Like Bill Cosby's never coming back, obviously because of like the severity of his situation. But like somebody like Kevin Hart, like, I mean, I'm not too like aware of what he did, but comparing that to like a white counterpart who like has opportunities to come back, and I'm sure Kevin Hart has come back as well, but like it's just different with like white tolerance, or not white tolerance.
Tolerance
with,
for white
tolerance
individuals.
Yeah.
I agree on that. I think that white individuals do tend to get more leniency for mediocrity. I'm serious. Like
Mediocrity,
just a great
obscenity.
example of that is just the NFL. Like you will see a black quarterback literally. Like they will talk bad about every single thing that he's done week by week and be like, is he really fit for this job? Can he really do it?
Right.
And then you see the white quarterback who's been in the league for 10 years, ain't won but half of his games maybe, still roaming around, and they're like, oh, well, he's a good addition to this team in week 12, you know?
Yeah.
But going back to what you were saying, I think you're right that in most cases, most black entertainers with cancel culture have a hard time with coming back. But even going deeper into that, if that is the case, because I don't necessarily think that black entertainers have it worse when coming back specifically from cancel culture, I think that it's more, like you said, more of a case-by-case basis. I also think that it's based on who the fans of that person is.
The outrage.
Because if you let's take R. Kelly, for instance. We can all say without a shadow of a doubt that R. Kelly, is canceled.
Finally
like, without
canceled.
a shadow of a doubt, like you
Yeah.
cannot change my mind on that. But
And
if
that
you look at
just
some
happened.
like
But finally,
aunties
keyword
and
finally.
grandmothers and uncles that look
Boomers.
at us and be like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm still
Yeah.
listening to R. Kelly and I'm waiting for his next album to come out. But I think that is quite literally a generational difference in ideals. We're not going to support somebody who is a pedophile, who is a rapist, who is God knows what else, and we're not even going to talk about it right now. But that's what they kind of grew up in, that's kind of what they're used to, and they're not going to be willing to make that
excuses
change
for?
in the same way that we are. But with that even being said, can R. Kelly come back from this?
No.
I don't think he can, because I think that literally, like, the people who are his fans are just too old to actually bring him back. But I think, like I said, with us, because we have such a influence on the culture,
Yeah.
art, music, anything, because we have such an influence on that via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, we have the ability to move feelings on people so quickly and so easily that other people before us never had the privilege of doing. So let's take Kanye, for instance, with all the things he said about Donald Trump, to now where he releases Jesus is King. I'm kind of on the stance of, I don't really trust what you're doing, Kanye, because I know that you can and will do a lot of things for PR to make yourself look good or for your image. So I'm not really convinced. Is he canceled in my eyes? Not really. Well, kind of sore. If you're going to support Trump openly, I have some issues with that, fam. Like, and I can't separate your art from you being an artist at that point, because now your political views are now kind of tainting how I view your music, because now I look at it differently. But anyways, can he come back from that in 5 years? Well, forget that. Can
Forget
Kanye
that.
come back from it in 5 minutes? Because he can and he will
Yeah.
continue to do
Always
so.
does so.
And I just,
And that's because of the culture and how we can move it. I'm
yeah,
sorry, go
I
on
just
ahead.
want to add to your point. R. Kelly has come back. Not now, but
He's come
the
back
video of him
before.
peeing on his niece, it was 2001
Wait, that was his
or something,
niece?
right? It was his. It was
I'm
something.
sorry.
He was
I
related
knew
to
that she
her.
was like 14.
He was
I didn't-
related to her, but he came back from that. I mean, it was like
I don't
2013.
think
He
he
did a
was
song with
related
Lady
to her.
Gaga. He's done. He came back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like a lot of these people, they do come back. There's a point that you said that for me it depends on. There's a point you were saying about not being able to support their content, and like for me, I
people-
can't do
on.
that for R. Kelly, right? But
Like you can't support his
I
art.
can't his art,
Right.
Because he's still making money off of it.
Right.
On Spotify, he's still gonna make money off of it.
Right.
However, The Cosby Show, a different world. I told myself if I ever have kids, if I change my mind about that, they will watch those shows because that was our Blackish before Blackish was even a thing.
Right.
Right. And for me, he's not making money from that. I see Cliff Huxtable and Bill Cosby are two different people to me. And I believe in supporting the good messages that he did put out, but not the person that he is.
How do you know he's not making money?
I'm going to download it illegally.
I don't know what she's talking about.
Buy the DVD.
I am
I
an
would.
understanding citizen.
I buy all my movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause-
Yeah, you get me.
I mean, maybe after he dies, then I would be 100% sure that he's not making money off of it because that
He's
dude is
dead.
getting old. Like,
Yeah.
he's getting out there. But I mean, like, that one just kind of throws me. Like, everyone was like
Yeah.
shook when we found out about Bill Cosby. Like, and there are always going to be those people that are just like they don't want to believe it, or like they just love them too much to like let
Because he
go.
was our hero.
like on like
Yeah. What?
no, it's because it's just such a good show, and I
Right.
haven't
Yeah.
watched it since. Just because it's like, how do I watch this in good conscience?
Yeah.
So like a different world, it's kind of like, yeah, maybe.
No, but,
But-
it's the same thing. It was produced by him. Yeah, it's the same thing.
And it's just really, truly heartbreaking, like when you have a hero, and that's how I said, like somebody to me, I'd just be thrown if like Kendrick did something.
I
Like,
don't want to talk about
and
it.
I can't, like,
I don't want to
I
talk
don't
about
even
it.
want to
I
consider
can't. I
it.
can't go into it.
I'll
so
cry.
it's
I'm gonna
like
bro.
personal. That's why I said it's kind of personal. Like, how much do you idolize this person? Can you let them go? Type of thing.
Okay, I have a question.
Hit the floor.
Do you guys listen to Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
Yeah,
still
I
Just
grew
hold
up
on. I'm gonna.
like,
There's
I grew
steps.
up on
There's
him.
steps.
Steps.
Do you guys listen to Michael Jackson, whether you
Yeah.
grew up on it, listen to him currently, or whatever?
Not in good conscience.
Okay, so
I
for
actually do
me,
in good conscience.
for me personally, I can listen to Michael Jackson in good conscience. Now, I grew up
Yeah.
on Michael Jackson, and he influenced a lot of how I view music to this day. And don't get me wrong, I've done a lot of research in that whole situation
Yeah.
because, don't get me wrong, every time I listen to it, there's a part of me that's like, but
Yeah.
it could have happened. Now, like I said, I don't know if it happened, and I really can't ever speak on whether or not it did happen. I still remember the day, the hour, and the minute when they announced that Michael Jackson was dead. I couldn't believe it because now it was like, okay, now we'll never know what happened in that situation. But at the same time, I think that it's very important if you're going to cancel somebody, that you have to do your research.
Exactly.
Now, I'm saying that, and it's a lot easier said than done because most people are not going to be willing to take the time to search it, to take Google
Exactly.
and go actually look up news and articles or whatever else.
That's
Depending
And I think
on
that's
the
just
situation.
ignorance.
Depending on the situation, because Michael Jackson, that was like gray. Like nobody really knew. It was like hush, hush. But somebody who like, you straight up see the tweets of them saying the N-word, or like they've said it on live television. Like Donald Trump, like, I'm sorry. He says it on
Don't
live
say sorry.
television.
There's no need.
Don't
Yeah,
say
let's
sorry.
apologize for
No,
that.
I'm not saying, like, I'm just, that's.
Yeah, but you
But,
don't
like,
got to say sorry.
He
We're
says
here.
it on live television in real time. No, I'm just like, no.
The things that he
Like,
says and the
these-
things that he does, like
yeah.
this happens. Yeah.
Like he says
Oh, wait,
it
you're not supposed
live,
to say
real
that.
time. You hear it with your own eyes. Like you, there's nothing that you have to research at that point.
But that's what I'm saying. Yes, that's true because that happens and it's tangible and it's visible. We can see it. But like I said, in situations like a Michael Jackson situation, or say a Harvey Weinstein situation, or hell, even a Bill Cosby situation, it's all the same thing of you're gonna have to go do your research. And again, most people in this world are just not gonna do it because either they don't want to, they don't want to ruin whatever it is that they thought or how they felt about it. They just simply don't care enough to actually do it. But at the same time, I think that if you're going to be willing to cancel somebody so quickly,
Yeah. Especially when you're a fan.
especially if you're a fan. Now,
Yeah.
like I said, it's different if you see a tweet from somebody from 7 years ago saying the N-word or calling black people apes or something, something where it's like, okay, my man, this is
Yeah.
here and you're going to have to
Like
address
Rosie.
this.
Is it
And
Rosie?
if it's a Gina Rodriguez situation where you apologize, but you're still doing the same, act, you're still taking the same action, saying the same things, then it's like, okay, fam, you're canceled for the, and it's like you said, it's not forever. You're canceled for the time being. Until you
Yeah.
can figure out what's going on. It's kind of like being put in timeout by your parents. You know what you did.
I feel like
And you can't, and don't do that again. But with that being said, you're in timeout until you can, get it right and
I was
say
given
apologize.
spankings, so like,
I didn't say spanking, I said
I feel
timeout.
like I have to, I understand, but I feel like I have to disagree only to a certain point is because, number one, I feel like 9 times out of 10, most of the people that get canceled, you don't hear too many stories about people who were unfairly canceled. And granted, I'm not about to, try and list any examples or anything like that. I'm not sure. But I know that for the majority, most of the people that get canceled, it's usually as a direct result of tangible evidence. And even with examples like Michael Jackson, I feel that after a certain point, people advocate to do more research. And granted, more research should be done. But I feel that people deliberately try and do more research as a way of saying, well, I have researched it, there is nothing there, therefore I'm appeasing my conscience. And I'm not knocking research, I'm just saying that there's a lot of people who say, well, just do research and then you'll find out. And then instead, when you already know, and because there's a lot of examples where even documented stuff that's occurred, people would say, oh, do more research, the photos were edited, and stuff like that. Like, people will always say, do more research when you already know what happened. Like, even with something as, crazy as, say, Johnny Depp. Like, the way how that has still followed him, people will still say, go back and research. And I'm not saying he did it or he didn't, but
I think
people
what
use
his
it.
point is that just do research, period. So with some people, your research can be like 1 minute. Like Harvey Weinstein, one recording, like he's guilty, right? And then
Right.
for me, O.J. Simpson, I might get canceled for this, but if I was on that jury, I would have let him go too. Because there's
Yo, I get what you're saying.
No, because
I get
the
exactly
fact
what you're saying.
that, for those who don't know, the fact that Mark Furman was on that case and he admitted there was recordings of him saying that he set black men up in the past.
Right.
And him calling black men the N-word in these recordings. The fact that he was on that case,
Messed
I
him
would
up.
let OJ go. And I think that was the first documentation of someone being canceled. He was canceled by the white people. And,
that's true.
right? And in that situation, I think people should do more research on that, and you might need to do more research to learn the details of that case.
Right.
Yeah.
I think more so what I'm saying is that when it occurs, especially as a fan, and I think that one thing that I'm seeing is that as fans, there's a lot of bias. And I think that it's dangerous if you do bias research because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you will always find research to prove whatever point you're looking
Exactly.
for.
Yeah.
So if even like to what you guys were saying about how you like Frank Ocean, you like Kendrick Lamar, if anything ever occurred, I feel that a lot of times what winds up happening is that you have biased fans going to do research not to actually find out the truth, but to appease their consciences. And so that's one thing that
Not-
That's
worries
what people
me.
did with R. Kelly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they're just
biased
like,
research.
Oh yeah, I was like, I don't
Marrying-
believe anything that they've said. It's like, it's not even true. It was like, but he's in jail. That doesn't matter. It was like, but there's due process. Everything
Yeah.
went through. He's in jail.
Right,
Nah.
there's a reason why we've got to this point that we're at. I just want to respond to you real quick. You're not wrong, because you're right. Like, seriously, people do people do research to prove whatever point it is that they want to prove.
It's called confirmation bias.
Yeah, for me personally, when I did my research with Michael Jackson, I wanted to find any bit of evidence that would confirm that he did it, because I know that he got off.
Besides the testimonies?
Well, even research, I can do research into that and say, well, now there's documentation of, well, person A said this and stories weren't corroborated. I can, like it's like you said, there's a whole lot of information that can be found to be used to make these certain points. Like I said, but for me personally, it was a thing where after cross-referencing different articles and different sites and different stories, I was like, I cannot find enough tangible evidence to confirm the suspicion that Michael Jackson is, quote, or not quote unquote, gavel on the or Hamlin gavel guilty. And I can't find that for myself, and I'm never going to find that information because, as far as we know, well, he's dead. So at this point, it doesn't matter. But
what I'm not disagreeing with you about is just, as a fan, there is a possibility that the evidence is literally in front of you. But it's just hard, and it's not something that I can say that you're doing or you're not doing. It just boils down to whether you are actually able to remove your bias and examine evidence. Because I'm not saying Michael did it or he didn't do
Right.
it. I'm just saying there is a possibility that the evidence is right in front of you. You may have even reviewed it, and you may have deemed it inconclusive, whereas it would be sufficient for other people to say he's guilty. So I just think that it's very important then, and I don't even know if it's possible, but if it is highly important that people somehow try to separate their personal love for these kind of people, their affection for them, in order to actually do research and come to a conclusion and not a biased conclusion.
I mean, for me personally, it was always a thing of I'm against sexual assault in general, but like sexual assault of children, like that is a very, and I'm not saying it's personal to me specifically, but I'm saying like that is a very personal thing to me, where it's like if you do that, you can't really come back from that in my eyes. That's the way that I look at it. So when that situation, or when I first became cognizant of a situation, for as young as I was, because I was really into Michael Jackson when I was little, it kind of not only threw me for a loop, but I was like, okay, I have to reevaluate how I feel about this man. Like remove how much I used to sing his songs, remove the talent shows that I've done with my brothers where we literally did choreograph routines.
Yeah.
Like put that to the side, because now I've just learned information that I need to check up on. And I need to go back and do my research. And so now even if we take this really big issue with Michael Jackson, which everybody knows, let's go back to the Brother Nature situation where he said the N-word. I don't even think people do their research into that, because I know some people that will say, oh, Kev said the N-word when he said the N-word at all, canceled. I don't ever want to see him on my TL. I'll never want to see y'all talking about him. And if you do, I'm blocking you. But the other ones of us are going to look at that and say, he said the N-word. Okay, when did he say it? Under what context did he say it? What was going on in the situation? So for him to come out and say, listen, guys, I said it. I was 13 at the time, and we all thought it was funny. Now I'm 19. I've grown up. I see that that's not okay. I see, the apology. We're going to look at that and say, okay, you made a stupid mistake when you were a kid. We can forgive you for that. We're not going to forget it, because this is how we're going to hold you accountable. But we understand that you said that when you were a kid. Everything that we said and did as children is not going to find us in our 20s, in our 30s, in our 40s. As a matter of fact, I think most of the things that we did as kids aren't going to find us.
Never say never.
I'm not saying never. I said I don't think that most of these things are going to find us. But at the same time, I think it's important for us to contextualize it and then say, okay, we're children, we're human, like I know you guys have said, and we have to understand that we made mistakes. And there are some things that we're just going to have to just buck up, pull up our pants and say, yeah, you're right, I did it, I'm sorry, and here's the way that I'm going to rectify the situation.
So I will say, too, that it also follows you to the grave. An example is Joan Crawford. They did a whole movie on her, like her adopted daughter wrote a whole tell-all, and like basically she was very abusive. She was like a really popular actress in like the 50s or the 30s or something. And so basically everyone canceled her after she already died. And like, imagine like dying thinking everyone loves me,
Right.
and then just like you're a terrible person and people cancel you. So like it can, like, don't say never, because it can follow you and it can follow you to the grave. Like,
But
I
that's
just
like I'm
think
dead.
and she doesn't have a way to like stick up for herself, but also she did it. Like she abused her daughter.
Hold on to that thought. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go to Joseph.
Oh, no, go ahead, because it's more of a shift.
What was I gonna say? Oh, I was saying that sometimes I just think the cancel culture is just unreasonable. Because the fact that we're going for Brother Nature when he was a kid. Because, I was on Facebook the other day.
I
You know,
wanna
like
go
how
into
on
my old
Facebook they have like the memories thing,
Oh, goodness.
and I realized
To look at those.
I think I was like 11 or like 10, and there was some political like cartoon, and man, it was crazy. And I reposted it with LOL, and the cartoon was Obama and some like other like Democrat political people, and like there was like the stake and like heads were on it of like Trump and Mitt Romney and stuff like that. And if I was like famous like right now, they would be at me. It's like, yeah, let's cancel Kristen. She did this thing when she was 11. I was like, no, I know that it's crazy now, but as a kid,
Up on that one, carrying the one. Trump 11 doesn't really.
no, it was something. I don't know if it was Trump. I know Mitt Romney was definitely like his head was
Okay.
weird.
Definitely
It's
around the
crazy.
time it was the.
Yeah.
It was
That
it
makes
was it
sense.
was weird,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, I had no idea what I was doing. And it's the same thing with them. And going back to my point about giving people the benefit of the doubt, and it's hard to do in these situations because even the guy who directed Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't remember his
James
name.
Gunn.
James
Yeah.
Gunn. He's an amazing director. But a few years ago, he had some tweets that were reckless.
I
Yeah,
remember
they're
All
that.
the
reckless.
cast,
That was
he
big.
got booted out as a director, so he lost
Yep.
his job.
I remember
and
that.
all the cast members came over saying, "This, we know this man. We know he's not like this."
Not
so even if he had these thoughts then, we know that he's not. He doesn't think this way anymore. And with cancel culture, we don't give people that benefit of the doubt, and you therefore ruin their life for the next 5-10 years.
Is it really ruining their life if they're already like, he's already
affluent?
rich. Like,
But you can't work because Tia.
you can't work, but
imagine-
if you've
imagine-
gained millions of dollars at that
Tia,
point, getting canceled.
Tia,
you
no. Imagine, because I know for me, even if I have $1 million in the bank account right now, being alone, looking at my ceiling, not being able to do what I love for the rest of my life,
All that money
is
doesn't mean
disgusting.
anything.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I feel like I
'Cause you're
don't.
blackballed
It
from-
just
from doing
depends
what you
on
love.
It just depends because I won't have sympathy for somebody who like said something that like is kind of you should know better, and especially if you were already rich at the time. Like there's just a certain point of wealth that you don't really need to work anymore. So I feel like my sympathies are like reserved for certain people.
I would have to say,
Last thought.
okay, especially where that's related, is that I think that sometimes we do have to recognize other people that we are canceling are humans, and humans are prone to mistakes. However, on the other hand, by being in a platform of position of authority, of power, being given a voice, they do become something more than a human, because you do realize that whenever you're speaking, you have lost the privilege of just speaking for one person. Now you have a voice, now you are swaying opinions, now you are saying things that actually has substance, that can actually hurt people. And so at the same time, while I understand, like, from a human perspective, you should be like, well, you've moved on since then. You've clearly done different stuff. Or even if it just happened, well, you're a human. You know, sometimes we slip up. At the same time, you're representing something greater than yourself, and so we have to hold them to a higher standard, but they have to hold themselves to a higher standard because they can't act the same way anymore. Like they have to do better.
Right.
Sorry, just to add, they also have power. And that's why I think it's
Exactly.
a very gray area. Because even in James Gunn's situation or anyone else, is even if you do think that they've gone through some type of rehabilitation and they're not like that, you don't know for sure. And they're in a position of power where they can make decisions with the same mentality that they had 7 years ago.
And they have so many like friends now that like these other popular people that may defend them can be defending them for their own personal gain.
Right.
Or it could be paid off to do that too. So it's very, very, very important for these people that get into these higher places of power, higher places of influence, that they take responsibility for the influences that they have, and there's no excuse to not take responsibility for the words that you say at that point, but everyone should take responsibility for everything that they say throughout their lives, because integrity is important.
Oh, that's a good one right there. I
Wow.
like that.
I don't know our time is up, but I want to thank you guys so much for coming on the show today. So cancel culture is it toxic or is it helpful? It's up for you to decide. Follow us on @thesoapbox. When you comment on the episode, use the hashtag #thesoapbox. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and share with a friend. Everybody, peace out.
Roger that. Stop!